Chowgat Orange Dwarf Coconut. This variety produces coconuts after 3 or 4 years, and lives around 50 years on average. It's famous for producing huge orange coconuts, up to 65 per year. The coconuts themselves have a large amount of meat and sweet water. Malayan Yellow Dwarf Coconut Trees. The Malayan Yellow Dwarf is one of the older varieties, originally cultivated in the late 1800s. It is fairly easy to grow and produces medium-sized yellow coconuts after just a few years of age. Golden Malayan Dwarf Coconut. The Golden Malayan Dwarf Coconut is the same as the Yellow Malayan Dwarf Coconut in pretty much every way, except for the color. This variety produces dark orange coconuts instead of yellow, and they're slightly larger, too. Green Dwarf Coconut. The Green Dwarf is another type of Malayan Dwarf coconut, and like the two previous types, it is fairly easy to grow. This variety produces green coconuts that don't ever turn yellow or gold. The tree itself also doesn't grow as tall as the other Malayan varieties, and the coconuts typically contain more water and less meat. Macapuno Coconut. The Macapuno coconut is a variety that was caused by a genetic mutation in the 1930s. The mutation causes the endosperm of the fruit to develop abnormally, which leads to the coconut having almost no water. Instead, the coconut has meat that is incredibly soft, juicy, and sweet, making it a perfect type of coconut to use in desserts and pastries. Fiji Dwarf. In the 1970s, tall coconut varieties in Florida and the Caribbean were victims of a deadly yellowing disease. In just a couple of decades, millions of coconut palms perished to the disease, so a replacement variety was in dire need. The Fiji Dwarf coconut turned out to be resistant to the deadly pathogen, so it was subsequently planted all throughout Caribbean countries as well as Florida. King Coconut. King coconuts are common along roads in Sri Lanka and southern India. The coconuts themselves have an attractive shiny orange husk, and also contain more water than other varieties of coconut. The high sugar content in king coconuts makes them decadent and refreshing sources of hydration. VHC1 Coconut. The VHC1 coconut is a hybrid between the East Coast Tall and the Green Dwarf coconut. It is famous for producing a massive amount of coconuts each year, up to 100 per tree. East Coast Tall Coconut Tree. The East Coast Tall coconut is one of the more common types of cultivated coconuts. It is typically very hardy as long as the soil isn't too wet. These tall palms begin producing coconuts after 6 or 8 years and can produce 60 to 70 coconuts per year. West Coast Tall Coconut. The West Coast Tall Coconut is one of the tallest varieties of the coconut palm. It is slightly taller than the East Coast Tall variety and produces slightly more coconuts per year as well. In addition, the coconuts of the West Coast Tall coconut have a slightly higher oil content than most other types.